Hello friends, I wanted to tell a interesting part of a story from my favorite show MASH, which you might have heard of. It's a long TV series about a mobile hospital in the Korean War, and it's lots going on there, a lot of deaths, and even the hospital gets bombed, and and the doctors and nurses are sort of try to make the best of the situation, but it's quite heartbreaking when there's young people coming in and dying and so on. But anyway, to deal with it, there's a lot of drinking happening, and there's sort of kissing and sleeping around, and it's the theme of, it's the classic work hard, play hard scenario, but the hospital and the war itself is hell. The one clean-cut guy is called Honeycutt, and he is the exception to the rule of everyone flirting everywhere, and until one episode where sort of because he's married and he misses his wife, and he wasn't able to be there for the birth of his daughter, and anyway, but 3 years in, he eventually meets this one female medic, and they do fall in love at the start without crossing any physical sort of boundaries, and then even a reluctant kiss happens between BJ Honeycutt and this female doctor, and then Honeycutt has this big reaction. He sort of shocks back and sort of leaves the scene, and then after that he comes back, and he's sort of a bit troubled by this. And what he does is, even though him and the medic are working closely together, he's ignoring her. He's deliberately ignoring her, and he's quite rudely not talking to her. And instead of speaking with this medic, he'll go around her. And finally, she grabs him and pulls him outside and says, "What's wrong with you? We're getting bombed. We could die any day. Why don't you want to live a little and live for today? We might not have tomorrow, and even if you don't want to be a couple, don't treat me like garbage." And Honeycutt is quite an emotional guy, and he's sort of thinking, and he says, "Live for today? I don't have today. I only have tomorrow." And then he goes on about how his work environment there is hell. He volunteered, but once he didn't know that it was going to be 3 years and so many thousands of deaths, and young men and women and locals, and it was hell for him. And he wanted to sort of be back in a safe place, and he's some specialty surgeon, and he was also had been so far away from his family for so long, and he was wanting to see them, and so that was his point. So I don't have today, I only have tomorrow, and if I don't live for tomorrow, I'm not gonna be able to make it out of here. And I thought that was a great point, because we always hear the line, come on, like, let's party, live for today, we might not have tomorrow, do what you want to do right now, but you never hear the other side of that. And the other side of that is, you don't have today, you've only got tomorrow. And sort of mathematically, like, if you're 40 years old, you'd like to think that you got another 10,000 days in you. So you do generally have tomorrow. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tomorrows. Whereas today is, by the time you sort of wake up and take a look at yourself and go to work and come back or whatever, the day's almost over. Also, a lot of us, even though we made choices in our lives, we not completely in control of where we are. I mean, we don't get to choose where we're born. We don't get to choose our various opportunities to a large degree. So your day might not be entirely enjoyable. You might need to sort of focus on living for tomorrow. I mean, I think it's a good point. at the moment for myself, I'm doing some extra study for my law work, and it's heavy, to be honest, doing my original work and doing sort of other work on top of that. And then with this, essentially a full-time course happening, it's intense. It's some of the most intense kind of time I've come across almost in my life. But yeah, and I do feel like far out, my whole day is being stolen away from me here. But it's that living for tomorrow concept. Once the qualification's finished, yeah, I've got it. I've got all those tomorrows, and that's the benefit. And yeah, I got some other news from my second oldest daughter. She's got nearly 17, and she's got straight A's, which I saw that and I thought, gee, that makes me proud of her and makes me proud of myself. But that wasn't easy. There were a lot of sacrifices there. Most of the thanks goes to her mum, yeah, without a doubt. But there were a lot of sacrifices there. That, financial sacrifices, sort of extra homework, and then moving the kids into a better school. It costs money, and again, putting them into a sort of top tier school costs a lot of money. Serious sacrifices for both the mother and father there to make that happen. And all those hours that she's had to study. So there's another example of sort of having the goal, and I think it's something to think about. For BJ Honeycutt there, he's not today was being away from his family, and he was living to see them in the future. That movie was filmed in the 1970s. I don't recommend that approach anymore. Long distance relationships, really waiting for one person, I think that's a bit risky. Fantastic if it works, and it can, but I think it's pretty risky. But other things, finances, improving yourself. One of the local Perth boys got into UFC. You might have seen this news, and good on him. What a dream made true for that guy. But yeah, I've seen that guy's fights coming up, and he's got the heart of a lion. But all that hard work and all those days, all the literally taking beatings and giving out beatings and taking beatings and healing, and there must have been days where he was just sort of, he didn't have that day. That day was, but now he's got this thing now, and it still goes on for him. It's not that today hasn't arrived for him. He's still living for tomorrow. He's living for this UFC career, which is what he wanted, and absolutely good on him. He really had to sacrifice to get there. Local WA boy from Broome, and a lot of examples like this. And it's not just, it's not even, you could be retired and this would still be a good point. You might be 99 years old and the doctor says you've only got 6 months to live. Well, that's still 170 days. You still got work to do. You've got to sort out your affairs. You've got to get some of those memories organized. And there are examples of people even at that age sort of going way too hard into the live for today concept. One uncle of a friend of mine, he just went, cancer, unfortunately, and they had to put some restrictions on bank accounts because he was just blowing all his money and spending everything, and he even sort of got into stealing. That's just too much. Sort of the whole live for today, forget about tomorrow philosophy is only good in limited circumstances. Something to think about, people. We might not have today, but you definitely got tomorrow in 99 10,000ths of the cases. So anyway, have a good day. Good on you.